Welcome to Human Currents, a journey through the structural redesign of American demographics from 1850 to the present. The story of American immigration is one of dramatic waves and reversals. Like rings in a tree, each period tells a distinct story. The immigrant share of the U.S. population peaked in 1890 at nearly 15%, then declined sharply through the mid-20th century. But the 1965 Immigration Act sparked a new expansion wave, bringing us back to historic highs by the 21st century. The 19th century was marked by three critical phases of labor and immigration exclusion. First, the end of the slave trade in 1808 closed off one brutal source of forced labor. Then, the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882 barred laborers from China, responding to anti-Chinese sentiment in the West. Finally, restrictions on contract labor in the 1880s limited the ability of employers to import workers under binding agreements. Each exclusion reshaped who could enter America and why. The 1924 National Origins Act created what we might call a policy vacuum. By drastically restricting European immigration through national quotas, it cut off the primary source of industrial labor. The consequences were profound: labor shortages in northern factories, the acceleration of industrial automation, and the creation of demographic pressure that would fuel the Great Migration. The Great Migration was one of the most significant internal movements in American history. Between 1910 and 1970, approximately 6 million African Americans moved from the rural South to cities in the North and West. Push factors included Jim Crow segregation, lack of economic opportunity, and racial violence. Pull factors included industrial jobs, better wages, and the promise of greater freedom. This migration occurred in two major phases: the first during and after World War I, and the second during and after World War II. The mid-century period represented a turning point in American immigration policy and demographic composition. The country stood at a crossroads between the restrictive quotas of the past and the more open system that was about to emerge. The shift from 1924 to 1965 represents a fundamental transformation in American immigration philosophy. The 1924 system was based on preserving existing ethnic composition through national origin quotas that favored Northern Europeans. It imposed no limits on Western Hemisphere immigration, but maintained the Asian exclusion policies. By contrast, the 1965 Immigration and Nationality Act abolished the discriminatory quota system, replacing it with hemispheric caps and preference categories. For the first time, it created pathways for Asian immigration while imposing new limits on Western Hemisphere entrants. The new system shifted from geographic borders to a skill and family-based filter. Immigration was reorganized into 7 preference categories, prioritizing family reunification and needed skills. The first 4 preferences focused on family connections, while the 5th targeted professionals and skilled workers. The 6th and 7th categories addressed refugees and other workers. This restructuring had profound unintended consequences. It enabled chain migration through family reunification, dramatically increased immigration from previously excluded regions, and led to higher overall immigration levels than policymakers anticipated. The reversal of immigration origins is striking when we compare 1960 and 2013. In 1960, 84% of immigrants came from Europe and Canada, with only 6% from Latin America and 5% from Asia. By 2013, the picture had completely inverted. Only 12% came from Europe and Canada, while 51% came from Latin America and 28% from Asia. The foreign-born population grew from 9.7 million to over 40 million. Geographic distribution also underwent a radical transformation. In the 19th century and through 1960, immigrants concentrated in the industrial Northeast, particularly in cities like New York, Boston, and Chicago. By 2013, the pattern had shifted decisively to the Sun Belt, with major immigrant populations in California, Texas, Florida, and the Southwest. This dispersal reflected changing economic opportunities and the rise of new gateway cities. Immigration has become a youthful engine, reversing America's aging curve. In 1960, the immigrant population skewed older, with a median age in the 40s, and contributed to an aging demographic profile. By 2013, immigrants were significantly younger, with a median age in the 30s, bringing energy and demographic renewal. This younger immigrant population helps offset the aging of the native-born population and supports economic growth. The transformation of American demographics through immigration represents one of the most profound changes in our national story. From exclusion to expansion, from European dominance to global diversity, from concentrated urban enclaves to nationwide dispersal, these currents have continuously reshaped who we are. As we reflect on these human currents, we see that immigration policy is never static. Each wave of change brings new challenges and opportunities, reshaping the American landscape in ways that continue to unfold. Understanding this history helps us navigate the demographic currents of our own time.